Hello everyone, DoughnutDoney here. Welcome to another retro episode as I looking at sporting and arcade games on the ZX Spectrum. As you know, a couple of years ago I did a football retro series where it took at least 2 years to look at football games on a ZX Spectrum, and I had a lot of fun playing all these games. Some I've never played, some I played many times when I was much younger in the 80s, and we looked at some great games like Football Manager, Tracksuit Manager, the Double, Match Day, you name it. Um, there's quite a few on that list. But today in this special, I thought it'd be a idea to show you some that weren't so good. Some that came out and looked like they just weren't very good to play, I'm afraid. Some you all heard of, some you might be quite surprised to hear or might never heard of. And yeah, it's going to be interesting how this is going to go. Now, just a little bit of a claimer here. This is my choice of games. No disrespect against any of the creators of the games. They are far talented than me. These are just my opinions of these games and how I play. I'm not the best at playing the arcade games on the football, especially in the football games, but I try my best anyway. But these games, even for someone like me who's not very good at these arcade games, doesn't give you much chance to have much fun. But we will look at these 8 or so games, and we'll see what you think of them. Let me know if any of these actually are just as bad as you think they are as well. If you think they're bad as well, then just let me know. So we're going to also look at some previous episodes I did which featured these games, so you can actually see a bit of gameplay. And occasionally I might let my older self tell you more about the game on the actual episode itself. So most of these episodes have actually been released. Well, there's 1 or 2 that have never been released or will be released in the future. But anyway, that's enough of me talking. Let's head straight to the actual games themselves. Now, you can fast forward to each game if you want to. I will put the chapters in down below, showing you where each game starts and each game ends. If you want to go straight to that, then please do, or just go to the game of your choice. Many thanks for watching this episode straight away. I know that sadly, within the first 30 seconds, many people actually leave the episode itself, which is always very sad. And I know a lot of people that watch this are not actually subscribers yet. So if you haven't subscribed, then please do, because you'll be missing a lot of good stuff that's coming out in the future. Anyway, let's go straight to the first game. So let's start with the obvious one. The one that many people have mentioned is one of the worst football arcade games around on the ZX Spectrum computers, and I can totally agree with that. I would probably put this as the worst one, but it's so obvious that I thought I might as well plonk it down on the very first episode, on the very first video game to feature in this episode. And of course, it's World Cup Carnival by US Gold, done in 1986. We all know the story about World Cup Carnival and what mess it was. So I'm just going to summarize it here, and we're only going to talk briefly about this one because, again, I've done you can see here back in episode 88 more about this. So feel free to go back to the previous episode here in episode 88 and watch it, and I'll give you the full more story about this. To summarize, though, they literally ran out of time, US Gold, to make a World Cup game just before Mexico 86. So they decided to buy the rights of the 1984 Arctic software game just called World Cup, which in 1984 wasn't too bad. And then they just added a few things to it. The things they included was all the nations who took part in Mexico 86, and basically the little sponsor ship board, and you can see US Gold Mexico 86. They added that, and then they also added a sort of like a penalty shootout little mini game of training. But basically, it was exactly the same game as what was released in 1984. Now, this got crucified in the magazine reviews. It got really low reviews. Crash gave it 26%. I'm surprised they didn't give it any lower. Sinclair User gave it 1 out of 5, and your Sinclair 3 out of 10. this is a well-known story of how bad this was, and also it was a full price game as well. You did get a lot of nice freebies, even though my major gripe with that is the England took part, of course, in Mexico '86, and they gave the whole United Kingdom flag, which included Scotland, Wales, and England. So yeah, that's another mistake they did. But anyway, that is World Cup Carnival, and we'll go on to the next game. So the next one we're going to feature was also actually released in 1986, and this was Super Soccer by Imagine Software, as I quite kind of called it when I actually reviewed this game. The not so Super Soccer. What can I say about this? It was a mess, wasn't it? There was a lot of things going wrong for this game, and the magazines kind of agreed with me. With Crash giving it 56%. Sinclair user for it was all right, actually, 4 out of 5, and your Sinclair 8 out of 10. There was a lot of good options in this game. The theme tune, which we'll go back to later, is actually not too bad, but the graphics, the actual match graphics weren't very good at all. I'll just show you some here. I'm just going through the options here on this video. We'll show you the actual game itself. Here is the game itself. Basically, the ball and the player had the mind of their own. You had little gauges at the top, speed, energy, and force. Bit like Match Day 2 in some ways, but Match Day 2 did it so much better and so much easier than Super Soccer did. There was an awful color clash in here. And you can see here I'm even struggling trying to pick up the ball. And when I think I picked up the ball doesn't move. And you can see I spent, 20, 30 seconds here trying to pick the ball up. And when I eventually do, I then kick it off the pitch. And then look at that. You can actually go off the pitch and still kick the ball. But I'll try to show you a bit more of the color clash. Here is a prime example. Here's a color clash here. The actual player animation wasn't too bad. And this little bit here, when you can actually place your men for free kicks, is actually quite unique. So it did have that as a good part of the game. But other than that, it was terrible. I did not enjoy it whatsoever. But what we're going to do is let's see if I can play the theme music. I will turn the game sound back on, and then because the theme music was actually pretty decent. No sound yet. Straight. This does. Okay, that's enough of the theme tune. So yeah, it had a decent theme tune and it had plenty of options, but other than that, it wasn't very good. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And this was terrible, the next one. So that was actually a jolly little theme tune. The next one is the 1986, even though it looks like it was made, no offense to G. Michael Ritchie, the programmer, even though it looks like it was actually 1983, 1984. Again, this is just my opinions, nothing against the creators. They are far more talented than me. But anyway, this is the Magnificent Seven release of Indoor Soccer. Now, at the time of this recording, this actually has not been released, but probably by the time this has been released, you will actually see it being released, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Anyway, so what's so bad about indoor soccer? A lot. A lot is bad. And you don't really need me to describe how bad this is. It's got color clash. It's got it. It's. I'm just glad it's a budget game. The crowd look like well, they've only got faces and that's it. Again, the ball's got no control. There is a little bit of sound. I won't play the sound though because it's only the ball being hit, but it's not very good, I'm afraid. You can't put any team names in. You can put your name in, I suppose. That's okay. You can play against a friend if you've got any courage to get any friends to come over and play this game with you. They'll probably look at you and think, why am I playing this? Play Match Day instead, because Match Day was released 2 years before this. But you have to bear in mind this was a budget game, but there's not much more to say about this. It's just dreadful. I think you had no control of your goalies either. They seem to all have a life of their own. They're probably trying to run away. It is set indoors, so it is five-a-side. You don't get full 11 people in indoor games, but I'm sorry. The guy who made this game, it's just not good. I think the only saving grace from this is you can probably try to have fun with a friend playing this, but with all the color clash, and in this game, for instance, I'm playing against Clive, I guess Clive Sinclair, and I'm losing terribly because I just can't kick the ball very well, and it's very, very difficult trying to figure out which player's yours and which players are there. But anyway, that's indoor soccer. So, game number 4. I'm going to stop the theme tune there because it does go on for a little while. The theme tune for this game is really good. I have to say that's one of the best theme tunes of this worst games episode. This is Peter Beardsley's international football, named after the famous Newcastle, Liverpool, Vancouver, England international of the 1980s. He was the main striker partner for Gary Lineker, especially in the 1986 World Cup. Very good footballer. Now, it started off well, that theme tune, but it went downhill from there. Magazines generally did not like this. Crash gave it 22%, Sinclair User gave it 34%, and Your Sinclair 3 out of 10. Now, this is the 128K version of the game, as I clearly said on this episode. But what's so bad about it? Well, there's a lot bad of it. The first thing is you've got limited basic options. Here is the options screen. You can do a couple of things, but would be nice to have a bit more flashy graphics. Now, remember, this was a full release game, full price release game, and it just wasn't good. You only had selected teams that you could play for, only a few there, including England, of course. England are in this, and then you could play the World Cup, I suppose, and see how well you do. But the problem is actually getting to the game itself, and here is the game itself. Now, one thing you notice, or you will notice in a minute, is what's one thing in the football game, in this type of arcade football game, that you really need to see other than the players and the ball? The scoreboard. Notice there's no scoreboard on the screen whatsoever. So you don't know who's winning, who's losing. So, and in this, I'm clearly going to lose. And then you just saw when the goal was scored, another error. The goalies seem to have a mind of their own. They've probably gone to chat to the indoor soccer goalies and probably going to go out pubbing or something later that evening, because even when you try to get to the goalies to control, they completely ignore your commands and just do something yourself. Now, this game does have the power bar. You can see that little power bar. If you can try to see it, I'll get my little cursor to try and point you out where the power bar is. That is the power bar. If you can see my little cursor, there you go. I'll try to do it a bit bigger for you. The yellow bar and the white bar. So that's the only way you can figure out who's who. There you go. So, but come and have a look, and hopefully we're going to get near the goal in a minute. You can see that the goalies tend to have a mind of their own, because I don't know why he's doing there. And also, when a goal is scored, the game goes so quickly into the next screen. Look, there you go. Look at the goal. He just doesn't know what he's doing. There you go. The goal goes so quick that you lose control of where you're doing next. What's happening next? Well, in this case, because I'm losing, but there's no scoreboard whatsoever in this game. Obviously, there's a pretty bad color clash in this as well. Oh, I think I've just scored. Oh no. Oh, on the line. There's no VAR in this. So, yeah. Again, I've released this episode a few months ago, so please go back if you want to go and see. It's not a very long video for obvious reasons, because I just gave up playing it. The players seem to be going all over the place, but then there could have been potentially a really good game here, but there isn't. The player animation actually is not too bad. The ball's physics, how it bounces and everything like that, seems to be fine. At least the pitch is pretty decent, but other than that, there's really not much going for it, I'm afraid. And this is well known as being a pretty bad version of the game. I think on other formats it's not as good either. I think it's pretty bad on the Commodore 64 and Amstrad as well. Please, if you have played this on those other formats, just let me know. And again, yeah, that's all we're going to say about this. That is Peter Beardsley International Football, done in 1988, would you believe it, by Grand Slam Entertainment Limited. Let's go on to the next one. So the next game actually just made the list. It's not too bad. It's actually one of the better ones of the worst ones, again, if that makes any sense. And this is actually Gazza's Super Soccer. This was the first of the two Gazza games. Gazza 2 was actually so much better than this. This was named after, of course, Paul Gascoigne, another famous England footballer of the 1980s and 90s. And what made this not so bad is you did actually have a lot of options. You could choose your teams to go in the leagues. You can change all the players' names if you wanted to. Like the game starts off with actually no players' names whatsoever. So you can put your players' names in or just leave them as player 1, player 2. You can see I put Oxford in. You can select your team. And here's the player scheme, which actually makes it quite unique because they had the skill level and speed level. So I put John Aldridge in. I put Billy Hamilton in, their famous Oxford United strikers of the 80s. Billy Hamilton actually went over, took part in the 1986 World Cup as Northern Ireland striker. And John Aldridge obviously took part in the 1994 World Cup as the Irish striker. Anyway, enough about the good things about the game. I do mention some good things about these games. They're not all totally bad. This was released in 1990 by Empire Software. The reviews were actually okay. Crash gave it 59%, Sinclair user 57%, and your Sinclair 64%. So generally it was okay, but not brilliant. What made me put it onto this list, though, is the actual gameplay. Basically, there was a number of things going wrong here. The first thing is that when the game starts, it seems that all the players on the screen were going for the ball. Literally everyone was going to the ball. So let's see if I can find you some gameplay. Here we go. The gameplay is going to start in a minute. So, and then the next thing was this, what you see here is, which in some ways made it quite unique, is that the screen gets split. So when you go into the opposition half, or in the opposition's case, your half, and try to shoot the goal, the screen splits, which can be quite confusing, but it also makes it quite unique in some ways. That I've seen no other game that I know of that actually does it like this, but it made it a bit sort of like misleading when you try and get used to controls going from left and right, then suddenly in the split second you're going up and down. And one thing that also I didn't like was, you probably see it here, mass confusion. When the ball is anywhere on the pitch, all the players on the pitch, no matter where they are on the pitch, go towards the ball. There is no stay in your position or anything like that, which made it quite confusing. And also there was clash. There's no color clash because basically the players they only had black or white shirts on. There was no actual color, and you can see the only colors in this game was green and white, other than the menu screens, which literally had some color. So it would have been nice that this actual game itself had the highlights actually had some more color than just black, white, and green. So it was quite difficult working out who we were. And then as soon as the ball was getting near towards one of your players, it was like a command for the opposition half to completely, or the opposition players to completely charge against you. Very much Sunday League football. Well, even Sunday League football was actually more organised than this. This is more like a kickabout of your friends. Like when you got the ball, everyone's charging for it. Yes, before you say Football Manager 2 does that as well. Everyone goes for the ball. But Football Manager 2 is so much better than this. This, to me, wasn't very good at all. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. Now, you know, when you start an episode and I say on that episode, let's hear the theme tune because it will make this episode go a little bit longer. Well, I said it in this episode. That's why it explains why the game wasn't very good. And this is Super Cup football done in 1990 by Hewson. And yeah, what's the theme music was good actually. I did like that little theme music. I think a lot of the theme music in these games are actually quite decent, and and you had some basic options here, even though you had to type in your own league games. But why did I not like Super Cup football? Well, Your Sinclair was the only magazine that reviewed it and gave it 30%, and they basically said what I'm going to say now. The color clash is terrible in this. When your player is highlighted, he suddenly goes purple, which is the only perk really in this. But when a player literally runs into the other player, he you can see the awful color clash. The player animation is not very good at all. I don't know if that looks like a player to you. It does not look like a player to me. It looks like a robot of some sort. Now, also, you might notice when you're kicking around the football, kicking around in this game, it's quite a fast game, is the goals themselves. Now, hopefully, this video is running at the moment. We're going to see a bit of goal action in a minute, and I can show you what I mean by the goals are very poorly done here. Oops, nearly did it. There we go. There is the goal, just under the well, the scoreboard, if you can call it a scoreboard. At least this game had a scoreboard, better than Peter Beardsley. At least this game had a scoreboard. But there's the goal there. Yeah, not very good, I'm afraid. Now this was full price again, and I would, if I was paying this full price, I'd be quite shocked by it. It had some good things going for it. That theme music again is very good. The actual option screen, you had plenty of options you can put, and when you score a goal, you can actually see a big goal come up. I didn't see that in many other games. But I'm sure with other friends, this game will actually be quite playable, and I think you have a lot of fun. But yeah, there's not so much going for this, I'm afraid. There is worse ones than this one. World Cup Carnival is definitely a lot worse than this and a few others, but I had to put this on this because other than the basic options and a decent theme tune, there isn't really much going for this Super Cup football, I'm afraid. Anyway, let's head off to the next one. Okay, the next one is another five-a-side game. This is international five-a-side done in 1992 on a budget label, Zeppelin Games Limited. Uh, this was reviewed by Sinclair user, 53%, not too bad. Your Sinclair did not like it and gave it only 20%. 20%. Now there's a few options here. Um, Not much you can do when playing this game. The again, actually, it wasn't a budget game. Just thinking about it, the price actually was 4.95, so it was mid-price game, which is a strange value for a game actually back in the early 90s. But what was wrong with this? Plenty. The graphics are not too bad. They're okay. You can actually change the pitch color. You can change the players. That's all good. Very match day 1 and 2-isk, and a few other sport games. So I would not rate this as one of the worst, but it's definitely not one of the best. And yeah, this is in my bottom 10, definitely. So the option screen was good, but other than that, you didn't have many options to actually, you couldn't really do that many things to play the game. Obviously, there's the good old color clash again. This will happen on many ZX Spectrum games. It's just the way that it was done. Um, and again, it was pretty hard to figure out who's on your side and who are you. But compared to some of the other games on this list, at least you had more of a decent idea who's who. And you could score some good goals in this as well. So, and there was actually a player scoreboard at the top as well, and how many minutes and seconds you got left. Like Peter Beardsley's, please take note. There's a scoreboard and all these except for yours. But one of the things that really put me off was that you had 9 direction keys to control your players. Yes, 9. And it took a lot to get used to, or if it did, then I must have done something wrong. But in some ways, this game was actually quite easy as well, even for me scoring a lot of goals here. Oh, actually, sorry, other way around. It was actually very difficult. The computer was scoring a lot of goals. I thought I was doing those amazing goals. In fact, it was the computer that was doing it. It kind of makes sense now. But yeah, it wasn't awful. But remember, this is 1992 during the end of the ZX Spectrum shelf life, and this was 4.95, so it wasn't a budget, but it was a mid-price game. Would you pay £5 back in 1992 to play this? I probably would not. But it's not terrible. At least if you're with a friend, you probably have some decent enjoyment playing this, I think the word is. But anyway, that is International Five-Side, and we now head towards the last one. Now, the last one's a little bit controversial because you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. I actually enjoyed it, but I'm going to put plunk on this because I know a lot of people do not like this. It's what I call a Marmite game. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. If you don't know what Marmite is, I think it's called Vegemite in Australia. It's a type of things you put on your sandwiches and everything like that. Now, this is Peter Shilton's football. It was renamed after that incident in 1986 against Argentina in England as Peter Shilton's Handball Maradona, just to get some extra copies, and I think it actually worked. Many people did start buying this after that. And it was a unique game because you actually control the goalie. You do not control any players on the pitch. So basically, you get shots directed at you, and as you can see here, and your aim is to try and save it. Now there's a couple of routines, and if you keep playing this game all the time, you'll get used to those routines, so you know basically where the ball is going. But you have to dive to the left, dive to the right, dive up or down, depending on where the ball is going to end up. Now you can choose any side you want to and become the goalie of that side. Now here on the video we actually see me just practicing. So here I'm going to become Oxford's boss in a minute. There we go, Oxford United free practice, and then I'm going to actually start playing the game itself. So here I'm the Oxford United goalie, and you can see that Oxford against Man United, because in 1986 Oxford were in the top division, so we did play Man United and we did concede a lot of goals like that one. And there you go. So when you get a goal conceded, obviously it will affect the scoreboard, and also your side starts to do badly. But there Oxford score, but you don't see Oxford scoring. Oops, I don't know what my golly did. Nothing there. Now, I actually like this, but I can see why a lot of people didn't like it. The magazines thought it was generally okay. Crash gave it 42%. Sinclair used a 3 out of 5. Your Sinclair 5 out of 10. It was done by Grand Slam, not Grand Slam Entertainment, who did Peter Beardsley. This was a different Grand Slam, and it was done in, again, as I say, just before the World Cup in 1986, and then I think after the World Cup it was renamed Peter Shilton's Handball Maradona. But I had to put this in the list because I know a lot of you out there probably don't like it and say, oh, what about Peter Shilton's football? Was that not in there? So I've included it in there. But anyway, this is game number 8, and that's actually the end of this episode. I'm only looking at 8 games for this one. If there is any other bad football games, and I mean mostly the arcade ones, we're not doing the bad football management games. We're just looking at the arcade games here. There's a few bad management games out there as well. Then please let me know. I would probably add Kickoff to this as well. The Spectrum version of Kickoff, maybe as in one of the worst, but it's not terrible. But the problem with Kickoff is you're comparing it always to the much better 16-bit version of Kickoff, and then Player Manager and Kickoff 2, which I played many times in the 90s. But let me know in the comments which other games, football games, and I must stress the arcade football games, not the management games, you would add to this list, and maybe I'll do a new version of this worst list sometime in the future. But anyway, this is DoughnutDoney saying goodbye, and many thanks for staying this long in this episode. For this special episode, I don't do many special football episodes nowadays because we're currently looking at other sporting games. Please look at those games when they come up on the channel. They come up every Saturday. And if you haven't subscribed, then please subscribe. You might not notice this, but on the screen on all my videos, there's the subscribe button is down here. As you can see, my cursor moving wildly there. That is actually the subscribe button. If you click on that, you can subscribe to the channel. It's all free. And please let me know what you think about this episode. It's always nice to go back to these football games, even the worst ones, and talk about them. But anyway, that's DoughnutDoney saying goodbye, and take care everyone, and see you very soon. Bye bye. What are your thoughts about this game? Please let me know in the comments. Many thanks for watching this video. Greatly appreciated. If you like this channel, please send me a like or subscribe.